wandering band of members of a so-called religious cult with a leader they call Jesus has had 3 of its followers arrested in the investigation of the murder of Sharon Tate and 6 others. Those arrested are 2 women and 1 man, and the Los Angeles police said they would ask murder indictments against several others. 5 women are being held as material witnesses.
This is where they lived, among the stables, barns, and phony buildings of an old rundown movie location 20 miles from Los Angeles. They called themselves The Family. They came and went, and the number varied from 20 to 30. Police said they were a pseudo-religious cult. People who worked on the ranch said they were heavy users of drugs.
I mean, it's amazing how it's gotten this far, because I am a convict with nothing. I've done 2 terms. I have a strike on my record. I'm not going to lie to you. I mean, this is the way I've been. I've been like this since day one. I have nothing. I am nothing. I am nobody. I'm a convict with 2 fucking terms, a strike on his record. And let me just tell you this right now. This is a fucking fact. If I never got into Manson and never got into cleaning the fucking ranch and doing whatever, I'd be in prison right now. So Charles Manson actually saved my life, you motherfucking haters. I don't give a fuck what you think.
Slipping through the wild wood, got no friend, no love, no money. Slipping through the wild wood, but once in a while I find sweet wild honey. I'm finding it hard to believe, finding it hard to believe. Say there's no bank left, no lightning left, no life here for me.
A lot of people ask me, how did I become the Spahn Ranch worker? How did I get into this kind of stuff? Well, I was adopted by my dad, Dr. Arnold Fox, and Hannah Fox. And that's Dr. Arnold Fox, MD, by the way. And my dad was the head surgeon at East LA Hospital. My mom at the time, when I was born, in 1970, when I was being adopted, she was the head of the adoption agency. She was like the woman who put the final stamp saying, you qualify to take the child home, you know. She says yes or no. So she was working there. So when my birth mother, my dad, who's my dad now, my dad was my birth mother's doctor. Okay, so my birth mother told my dad, her doctor at the time, I'd like to give this child up for adoption. He says, no problem. My wife works for the adoption agency. We can have the child put to, in the adoption program and have the baby adopted. Well, when I was born, my dad actually delivered me and he saw me. And my dad said, hey, we're going to keep this one. Now, when you're a Beverly Hills, when you're a doctor when you're the head surgeon at East LA Hospital, and you're the head doctor, you've got some privileges and some rights that most people don't have. So, like, you can just start taking babies home from the hospital. So my dad said, hey, we're going to take this one. Now, with his wife being the head person at the fucking adoption agency, the paperwork just went right through. Like, she just stamped everything right before bed. Bam! I was taken home the very next day. And my dad's wonderful, you know. His name's Arnold Fox. Great name. He's from South Philadelphia. My mom is Hannah Fox. She actually is from Brooklyn, New York. My dad is a goofball. I get all my humor from my dad. My dad might have been this rich Beverly Hills doctor, but no way, he didn't come off like it at all. He hated playing golf. He didn't like the whole, the Beverly Hills schmoozing, this and that. He wasn't like that, dude. He was like, he kind of was like Lenny Bruce. You know, that's the, you know what I mean? He comes from that era. He was funny. He liked to laugh. He liked to meet people. He got to, you know, he wanted to know people. His patients, he didn't treat them like a number. He treated them like a person, because they are. When patients would come to see my dad, he would sit down and talk to them for 2 hours, get to know where you from, I'll tell you where I'm from, and they're laughing and they're feeling comfortable. And then when they're comfortable, they tell the doctor, hey, what's ailing you? Why are you here today to see me? And then they feel more comfortable talking with my dad, because like, man, this guy's actually really, he makes a great doctor. He wanted to know about me and my family and who I was as a person. He didn't just treat me like a patient.
So, in 1984, I believe it was, I did my freshman year here at Beverly Hills High School. This high school actually has a basketball court that opens up, and there's an Olympic-sized pool under it. And so there's an Olympic-sized pool underneath this basketball court, and it's on hydraulics, and it goes and opens and closes. It's actually really cool. I think it was the only one of its kind. We're heading to my house. Right here is Roxbury Park. Here's where I played all my years of Little League baseball. Right there, and soccer. It's soccer season now, just like it was back then. So I'm getting ready for soccer with the kids. The field's totally different, but that's the field I played on. Everything, massive amounts of Little League games played there, man. Now, we're still in Beverly Hills, but we're heading towards the border of Beverly Hills and Los Angeles. We're like right now heading towards the outskirts of Beverly Hills. Like as soon as you cross the certain street, that's LA County. Now you're not in Beverly Hills anymore. This is a Jewish school. I went here, actually. I forgot I actually went here. This is a very religious Jewish school that they tried sending me to when I was a kid for kindergarten. It didn't work out too well, and then they put me in Beverly Vista. But because my parents were we were very religious in the 70s. Once 1980 came around, everyone's like, they were on their own. So we were very, I'd say, Jewish in the 70s, and you know, we didn't go to shul and stuff like that. It wasn't like that. Maybe my dad might have gone to a couple different services every now and then, but it's not like it wasn't mandatory. But sure, we did celebrate, you know, Hanukkah, and then on Friday night, the Friday night dinner on the Sabbath was my mom always, you know, made something. People came over, eating and singing and drinking and praying and all that stuff. And walk down. We used to play over the line baseball right in the middle of this street. These trees weren't like this, and there wasn't like cars parked like this all the time. So we used to play baseball right in the middle of the street, and it was awesome. I'm surprised we didn't break any windows and stuff. And my friends all lived here. I can't remember their names, but they all lived here. My buddy lived here. Another one lived there. So you see, the houses get more moderate because now we're heading towards, you know, the end of Beverly Hills. When you cross the street right there, that's Los Angeles County. So this is the very end, and I live at this corner house here, which this is nothing what it looked like. They renovated the entire thing. None of these bushes were here. There was a bigger mound, and I would ride my bike and do like a jump, and I would end up on the top and then skid out and then stop, and then I would, you know, get off my bike and then I would go inside. But I always ended every day with this jump off here, because this actually came up a lot higher, and we used to play baseball here in the street. There's the front door, 474 South Weatherly. And see, none of this was here. And I would pitch from right here, and we'd set a little box up, and my brother Carlos would sit there, and we'd just start hitting balls. It was like a plastic bat with a tennis ball. None of this was like this. This house wasn't even anything like that. Now, this tree was still here when we were here. I used to climb on the tree all the time. I would forget my key. So I'd come around the house, climb on the tree, go in the balcony, and then open the sliding door right there. This was my brother Steve's room in the front. He had his own room with a bathroom. We used to keep a big freezer on the fucking porch right there for like meats and stuff like that, and, you know, briskets and just a bunch of crap. The back door like that wasn't like that. They didn't have that setup like that. It was actually just a long staircase that came down. But the house pretty much is, besides the color of that crap, I don't even know what color that is, baby orange crap or whatever.
Was it white or something?
It was just white. It was just simple. It was just kind of like simple. It was bigger because it was one of the bigger houses on the block, but it didn't have all this growth and all this stuff in the front. Oh shit, maybe 1984. I think we moved out. Now, when we moved, we only moved 2 blocks away, and the person's home we moved into was my friend Luann, who played Annie. Now, I went to school with the girl that played. Her name was Luann. She played Annie from I think 78 to like 81. I think I should probably this way. 78 to 81, and we became really good friends. Well, she only lived right here. When she moved, my parents went to go check out her house, and we ended up moving in the house, downsizing. My brothers all moved out. It was just at the time just me and my mom, my dad, and my sister. And we, instead of getting a moving truck, we just put stuff on wheels and just like rolled the washer and dryer and like the couches just down the street. So there's no truck. We just wheeled everything on like skateboards, pretty much. Holy crap, is this it? Well, this is it. My friend Nina Fontes, man, she lived here. Her dad was a rock and roll promoter. And dude, he used to hook us up with tickets. Not like Jim Miller, though. He wasn't that famous, but he did some rock and roll promotion too, and he always had access to fucking tickets. And then so we came down here, and then we moved into this house, 471 South Lapeer, and it wasn't like there was a wall. This wasn't open like that. It actually is the same. It's exactly the same, except they just had we had a gate, we had a wall that you had to go through. It wasn't open like that. We had gotten robbed. This is actually the first house that we lived in where our house got robbed. They had broken in and stole a bunch of shit, and then my mom went out and bought like the world's biggest, scariest dog called Cujo, and she never really liked big dogs, and then we got robbed, and then she went out and got the world's biggest, scariest dog. I think it had rabies. It was just crazy, dude. And then after, like, once she felt safe, like a year later, she got rid of the dog. Yeah, I feel safe, get rid of the dog. And then we had to get rid of the dog. I would live here. I'd come out here and go up to Olympic and then catch the bus, go up to go to school. It was a little house, but the only cool thing about this is in the back was a guest house with its own bathroom and everything. And then my brother Steve ended up moving into that later, into the guest house, which has its own way in through the alley in the back, so you don't have to come in through the front. So it was cool, man. It was. I think when you're born and raised in all this, it's just different. But as soon as you move away, then you see. Wait a minute. You kind of see where you came from, and it's not like it's bad or anything. But I think people are just like, oh, you came from Beverly Hills. And so for a while, I didn't really tell people. I just said, I'm just from LA.
Right.
But now it's like it's a big deal. I mean, like I said, I would never want to live here. To me, this is just like a dream that happened a long time ago. It's my life, but. In 1985, unfortunately, my dad's office building in Beverly Hills burned down, and it really set him back, and we had to move, and we were trying to find places to move, and originally we were trying to stay in Beverly Hills, but we couldn't, so we ended up coming out here. We ended up coming out here to the San Fernando Valley, to Woodland Hills, and they found a house here that happened to be near a school, and it was easy to walk to, and all that kind of stuff that they're taking into consideration. This is actually the street we lived on. My friend Wellesley, who we'll meet a little bit later, her and her family lived here. They moved into this house. Now, we moved into this place 3 months. They moved in 3 months after us. When we went from Beverly Hills, we came and we moved into this house. I'm going to show you here. On the left here with this gigantic tree, this 2-story house, and on the very top corner, that was my bedroom right there with those French doors. But this is where I actually lived since 1985. I lived here all the way up until my father had a stroke. And once he had a stroke, he had to be put into a home, and then the house did have to sell. And that was in, I believe, I was actually in prison at the time when my dad suffered a stroke, I wasn't there, so I missed a lot of that. And I'm going to say that he had the stroke in about 2001, possibly 2002. So we lived here from 85 all the way up until about 2002. And then the house was sold, but it's exactly the way it was. Nothing's been changed at all. It was kind of like this was the meeting spot where like, hey, what do you want to do on Friday and Saturday nights? Well, let's just meet over at Bruce's and then we'll figure out something from there. So we would all just meet here, and then from there we would just take off and do stuff, and so it was kind of cool. And then coming over to Wellesley's, I just remember crossing the street crossing the street like this, and coming over here to Wellesley's house and just opening the gate. And the fence is actually different, and just the stories that we can tell that went on over here were just awesome. It was a good little community. It was a good little town. I mean, a good little place to live. I'm actually glad my parents picked this place. And the memories, when you meet my friend later today, you'll see, and she has some stories I probably even forgot about what went on here. Just wonderful. I have some really great memories here, even though I didn't finish high school, and I look back now and I wish I did. I have a lot of great memories here, and my folks and everything. There's just a lot of really, really, really good positive memories that remind me of the past, and it will always be here. And I'm just glad that the neighborhood is exactly the same. It hasn't changed.
But I remember when you guys moved in, and I remember being at school and being with...
I don't remember you at school.
See, I remember you at school because I was all friends with the nerds, and I remember telling the nerds, hey man, I know that girl over there. And the great story with Marla, who was your friend at the time, who's a good friend of ours now, and she was friends with Wellesley, and I remember going over to Wellesley, and Marla knew that I was friends with her, and for some reason we just didn't get along, and there was just... well, actually, I guess I take that back. She didn't know we were friends, but me and Marla had already met, and she didn't know that I was friends with you until one day you invited me over to your house, and I'll never forget that she invited me over to your house, and you said you had a friend that was coming over. You didn't say who it was, and somebody knocked on the door, and I went to answer it, and it was her.
Really?
And she looked at me, and I'll never forget. She looked at me, and she's like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "What are you doing here?" And I'm like, "What?" And then she walked in, and then you came up out of nowhere, and she's like, "You know this guy?" And she's like, "Yeah, I know him. He's my neighbor." And she's like, "Oh, no way." And she's like, "Yeah, he's some kind of weirdo or something like that." And I just remember you saying, like, "Look, man, he's my friend." And
With Marla, really?
yeah, and she's like, "You guys just need to get along." And I'm like, "You know what, Wellesley, you guys can just hang out." I just remember saying, "You know what, your friend's here. I'm just gonna go home. You guys just hang out?" Because it seemed like things were getting a little weird, and she was a little bit like weird about it. You guys want to talk, so I left, and you guys ended up talking. And I remember you just telling her, like, "Look, man, he's my friend, and if you don't want to be friends with me, then you might want to leave." And then we all became best friends. I mean, like, it was kind of cool how you just kind of stepped up and just said, "Look, man, he's my friend."
Well, it was in 1995. I was on tour with the Grateful Dead, and Jerry Garcia had passed away in August of 95, and the whole trip that I was on at that time was over. And we were trying to figure out something to do, and we had, it was time to cut our hair and get jobs and do something, make some kind of transition. We just spent the last 10 years on tour with, the Grateful Dead, and now it was kind of like, what do we do? And really for me, I wasn't really sure what to do. I kind of went back home to stay with my folks. That didn't really work out. They kicked me back out. I was staying with some friends. I ended up cutting my hair actually like that, and trying to get work, and nothing really panned out, and nothing really seemed to go my way. And I fell into a massive depression. Well, the Grateful Dead's over, and all that's over. So I got a really, really bad attitude, very bad attitude. I'd say from the age of 26, 27, 28, and then 29 rolls around, and that's when I get in some serious fucking trouble. I end up doing a lot of methamphetamine, kind of running through different girlfriends, one every other week, it seems like. But I did like this one girl, and I really did like her, and she left, and as a tweaker, it was just too much drama for me, so I decided I was going to go and harm her at a party. I went to this party to harm my girlfriend. This other kid came up to me, this other guy that was at the party, started talking to me about something, and just got real annoying really fast. And it got me so distracted from what I was about to do that all my energy basically shifted and focused to this guy. And I got really pissed off at this guy. And he was arguing, he was like making fun of me about it was really weird, for being a deadhead and having long hair, or just like weird, or just worshiping the Grateful Dead. I think I was wearing a Grateful Dead shirt, to tell you the truth. Something like that. It had something to do with the Grateful Dead, which I don't really remember, but I just kept thinking in my head, like, why is he bringing this up? Like, what does this have to do with anything? And next thing you know, a little push and shove kind of happens, and I pull out a knife, and I end up stabbing this dude in the face at the party. And once that happened, he went running off into the other room, or into the bathroom, to fix his face or whatever. Then I heard his girlfriend let out a huge scream, and when she screamed, it kind of snapped me out of like the trance I was in, because I was in a massive fucking tweaker trance, and it kind of snapped me out of it, almost like sober, to where I was like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. And like within a couple of seconds, I realized what had happened, and I'm like, oh fuck, dude, I need to get the hell out of here. And I just remember just running out the back door of the back door to where the garage is, and I went out to the garage, and I opened up the garage door, went underneath the door, and I just ran. I actually left my car. I went to a friend's house who was living nearby, and he had a motorhome in the driveway, and it was unlocked, and I went inside the motorhome, and I just hid there until the sun came up. And then the sun came up, I got out of the motorhome, I went to the front door, I knocked on it,
like my friend, he was just happened to be getting up, thank God, and getting coffee or whatever. And he's like, "What the hell are you doing here?" And I'm like, "Dude, I'm in fucking trouble." And then I told him what happened, and he was just like, "Oh, fuck, dude, you're fucked." And we sat there for a little bit. I had some coffee with him, and then we decided to come. I came to the rational decision that I told my friend, I said, I need to call the police, and I need to turn myself in.
What ended up happening to him? Sorry, before you go
Oh,
too far.
before-
like,
oh,
like
what ended up
how,
happening to him?
how
Oh.
fucking damaged was he?
Dude, okay,
Sorry.
first of all, actually not that bad at all.
Yeah.
All it was he received 10 stitches across, because all it was just the knife. It was a two-sided knife.
Yeah.
So when it went into his cheek, he just went, dun, dun.
Yeah.
So it was 10 stitches across his cheek, and my friend saw him like a month later and said, "That's it?" He's like, "Yeah." So they wanted the maximum. Like here's the real trip about this. The guy that I stabbed happened to be the son of a woman who's a writer who was writing a book at the time, how the American justice system is all fucked up. And now she used one of the chapters for her son's case, meaning that he got stabbed at the party, and I was actually, they wanted like full justice. They wanted like it was 15 years I was looking at. Okay?
No shit.
Right,
Wow.
it was 15 years I was looking at. And they wanted the max, dude. This woman was doing everything in her power because this whole system is all fucked up, and she happens to be writing this book, and then her son gets in a little incident now, and now it's turning into a bigger ordeal. So now I'm looking at 15 years, and I have a public defender, and I'm fucked. So
Wow.
the last minute, my dad finally steps in and pulls some strings. He's a Beverly Hills doctor. He pulls
Yeah, I
some
was
strings.
gonna ask.
Right, he pulled some strings, and they got me a fucking Beverly Hills Jewish fucking lawyer. And next thing you know,
Yeah.
I went from 15 years down to 8, and I actually had to serve 5. I went to Corcoran. It's heavy-duty prison. It's right up there, I'd say, with San Quentin and Folsom and High Desert and God, what else? There's so many. There's 32 prisons, but Corcoran's the biggest one. No, going to jail didn't really bother me that much. I'm actually pretty good with new situations. I think that's just me personally.
Wow.
I mean, I
Yeah.
saw a lot of people who were coming into prison for their first time, and a lot of people looked nervous on the bus, and I was just like, like we're kind of going to camp or we're going to, whatever. I didn't really look at it being that. I mean, I was nervous, yes, but once I'm not a troublemaker like that. I wasn't looking, for trouble. I seen other people in the way they conducted themselves in the county jail, and I'm like, look, the reason that you're getting beat up and fucked with is because you're actually bringing it on yourself. Tell you the truth, man. If you just shut the hell up and mind your own business and just kind of go with the program, everything will actually be fine. Go out in the yard, work out, do your regular workout routine. And then I was the organizer of the softball league, so they had, the whites, the blacks, the others, the Pisces, Southsiders, Norteños, whatever. Well, not Norteños and Southsiders on the same yard, but they have all different groups of people. So I ran the softball club. Like I said, I kept myself busy and just out of trouble. Like I said, it's really easy to see who's getting in trouble just by watching, and you won't feel bad for them getting beat up because you're like, wait a minute, you brought it on yourself. For anyone who's going to prison, I hope you never go. I would just recommend just to never really smile, mind your own business, and just don't talk unless you're talking to someone who you need to talk to. You know what I mean? Don't try to, say, hi, how you doing, and meet everybody in the room. You don't want to do that. It's not a place to make friends. Believe me, it's not. I went to prison. Wellesley was there writing me letters at Corcoran and being very supportive, putting some money in my books, taking my phone calls and paying for collect phone calls, which is really fucking cool, which really helps out somebody who's in prison because it keeps your morale up and it lets you know that somebody cares and stuff like that, the way things are. But when I was in prison, you were always there. And then when I got out of prison, the second time I ever got out of prison, you came to pick me up with Dave Mercer, and I just never forget. That was the greatest feeling in my life because you weren't supposed to record, and you recorded. To this day, I have a great video of you sitting in the car with the van coming up, and then me getting out. There's me with the long hair and the ponytail, and you're talking to Mercer, going, "Oh my God, look at his hair. We got to cut his hair. Look at the clothes don't even fit him. I sent him clothes. They don't. Cause I was too skinny at the time. You sent me. I gave you the wrong size, or it was too big, and so it was like I'm wearing like these clothes that are way too big, and I have long hair and a ponytail, and you're talking, and you're not supposed to be filming. It's totally illegal, and you're just like, I'm so glad you got that video because that's fucking awesome.
I want to see it again. I haven't seen that.
I have it on my Facebook. It's a really great video. This is the house I was living with my ex-girlfriend Linda.
Yeah.
And even after we broke up, I was still living in the house, and she actually had somebody else. And I had become friends with her brother. His name was Duke. And they let me live here, and we were growing pot in the garage of this house. We had 1,000 plants. And who
I don't know who narked or whatever, but there was a lot of controversy. There was a lot of heat coming in the house. There's tweakers, this and that. It was really a bad scene. But I had nowhere else to go, and Linda's son was just a maniac. He was like a dude. He loved Gigi Allen, and everything to him was Gigi Allen. This guy would like cut himself and bleed, and he looked like fucking Gigi, as a matter of fact, as a kid, which is hilarious. He was actually really cool, but him and his friends were just constantly on dope and just constantly cutting themselves, and just it was really, really bad. So the whole house here was just nuts. And but there was nowhere else for me to go, and I like Duke. And this is the house right here, man.
With that Fiesta theme?
Yeah, this is it right here,
It
dude.
looks weird,
Yeah,
bro.
my
That's
bedroom.
a weird feeling.
Look at my house. My room was right there, and Linda's room was right there.
Yeah.
And then Duke was in the back. There was a garage in the back where we were growing plants. Now, I was watching TV. I had the window open. It was so hot. There's no air or nothing. And I had I was watching TV. I remember watching The Simpsons, as a matter of fact. And I just happened to look out the window because I heard noises. And all of a sudden, what do I see standing at the gate here? But there are 8 or 9 cops with guns all getting ready to storm the fucking house. And I'm like, holy shit. And I had about 5 seconds to run out the back door. And I decided to myself, I'm like, you know what? I'm not running. I'm not going anywhere. So I just closed the bedroom door. And I just sat down and started smoking bong hits. And I can hear them banging on the door. Next thing they came banging through. I can hear them coming through the house, marching down the hallway. And I'm sitting there just trying to smoke. I'm like, fuck, we're going to jail. Start smoking. And the door kicked open. There's a cop saying, freeze, or put that down, or yelled something at me. And I'm like right in the middle of a bong hit. I just put it down and just blew it right on his face, like right at him. Put the bong down. Man, that dude grabbed me by the fucking hair and threw me down. Fucking, they beat me up just a little bit, kind of gave me the business, tied me up, brought me out in the front, just wearing my underwear. It was like a total fucking raid, man. It was just, they had Duke. It was sad because he has some medical problems, and I kept yelling, like, the dude, he's handicapped, and everything. And unfortunately, he liked to snort his fucking Vicodin, so he had a bunch of Vicodins all chopped up, so it looked like he was just snorting cocaine. So that didn't look good. And they just totally took us down, and they knew exactly where to go. And when I was watching, I'm like, oh, yeah, you guys were informed because you guys know way too much. I didn't say shit. So what's going on? I'm like, you guys came in the house. I don't know what is going on here. So I was being a dick, but because I knew not to say shit. And then I ended up getting 25 months for that. I did 25 months up in, oh, man, I cannot think of Jamestown. Jamestown was the prison. It's kind of like a fire camp. Even though I didn't qualify for fire camp, because I'm not a gang member and you have to understand there's a lot of people in prison who just aren't gang members. There's a lot of gang members, so if you don't have any kind of gang affiliation and no one's really after you and you don't have a problem with anyone, they try to put you in a facility that you'll easily do your time with instead of putting you in. They try to, at least. And they just happen to say, look, you don't qualify for this program, but we're going to put you in the program, and you're just going to be there longer than most. Most people are only in this program for like 6 or 8 months. And I was there for 2 years, which is a long time, and I ended up becoming the head of the softball league. But this is where it all started here at this particular house with that raid, and I haven't been to prison since. And then after I got out in 2011, November of 2011, that's where, Finkelberg comes in and his house, and the whole suggestion to be Spahn Ranch worker, and I was just learning what YouTube was, and I have a lot of friends who always told me you have a lot of character. You should go to open mic night, and you're like a funny or a comic or whatever. You should do some stuff, and that's how it came from. That was friends just making suggestions, like, hey man, because if you don't, you're pretty much going to be on the same pattern. You're a nice guy, you just make some really bad decisions, and then when you get high and drunk, you make really bad decisions, and you end up in jail. So thank God those people had the sense to really stick with me and tell me to do something with my life, which I ended up doing. I think becoming Spahn Ranch worker and getting involved with the ranch actually saved my life, because right now, I can honestly say that right now I would be back in prison. Yeah, very easily. It would be hard to stop hustling because, money seems to be everything.
Give us a little, where are we going?
We are going now, if I can just confirm it really quickly, we're going to, this is where I lived right when I got out of prison in 2011. My friend David lived in a house. He lived in a house here with his parents. His mom had passed away, and it was just him and his dad. Oh, here it is. Okay, yeah. Let me circle back. Okay, I did find it. Now, him and his parents lived here. His mom passed away. It was just him and his dad. His dad was planning on selling the house and downsizing, and actually gotten a new girlfriend. And I had just gotten released from prison in 2011. And I had nowhere to go. I was living under the bridge, pretty much. And I called up Dave and said, hey, man, what's up? And he's like, hey, what's up? I said, look, I just got out. I'm homeless and so, can I come by, take a shower, get something to eat or something like that? And he's like, sure, man. He's like, and I came over and I hung out with him. Oh, here it is. It's right here. This is it right here. Yeah. We came over and we hung out. And I said, oh, cool, man. And I ended up living here. Now, Dave has been here his entire life, and he has slight issues about, I don't want to get too deep into it, but he's got a couple different issues. So he didn't want to leave the house. He was actually in denial from leaving. And he thought he was actually going to live here and possibly even die here. But when the reality set in of, look, Mom died and I'm selling the house and I'm moving to a condo with a new girlfriend to Hawaii. We're going to get you an apartment and set you up. I think the reality of that hit him so hard he didn't want to do that. So one day, being upstairs, I was looking for some apartments for him. He came down. He's like, I want to go downstairs and make some food. And I said, sure, go ahead. So he went down to the kitchen. At least I thought he was. And I'm upstairs, looking at apartments for him. And first of all, I realized that there's no smell. I don't smell anything cooking. I don't hear anything. And I'm like, hey, Dave, I found an apartment for you here. Check this out. So I go downstairs and in the kitchen, nothing's in the kitchen. There's no one in the kitchen. Nothing's cooking. And then I'm like, where is this guy? And I'm looking around the house, and the only other place he could be would be the garage. I'm like, well, why would he be in the garage? So I open up the garage door that you see right here. It's in from the house, not right here, but from the house side. And sure enough, there's Dave hanging from the rafters. And he had committed suicide. And instantly, I went right into action. And it's one of those things in life that's really going to test you when you're confronted with a situation like that where you have to think instantly on your feet of what to do. It was amazing how I went right into action. I didn't panic. I didn't get scared. I realized he needed help. I don't know how long he'd been there. It didn't look good. Now, being in the garage, the one thing that helped out is his dad had a lot of tools, and there were a lot of sharp objects in there. So getting like I can't remember exactly what it was, but it was something that was sharp, and I cut him down, got the rope off his neck. To me, my first thing was, shit, he's dead. But I need to give him CPR. But the problem was I never actually took a CPR class. And I've only seen it on TV. So I had an idea of what it was. Tilt the head back, clear the throat, compressions, breathing, stuff like that. And I'm doing this thinking, oh my God, I don't even know if it's working. Sure enough, he starts coughing and gagging and he comes back to life. It's an absolute miracle. I'm sitting there like, oh my God, it worked. I run to the phone, call 911. Call his dad. Next thing you know, we have like 6 cop cars, a fire department. His sister showed up. The dad couldn't show up, but she called the sister who lived nearby and showed up. And they got Dave here. He gave him some oxygen and everything, took care of him. Now, you have to remember, in the situation now with the police, this is the funny part. The police see me, and what they do is like 6 cops kind of like circle me, like, okay, like, what happened? And I'm like, okay, first of all, I want to talk to the sergeant. And then I said, look, he's a manic depressive. He's very heavily depressed, medicated, and he has a lot of health issues here, and he's fallen into a depression, and he had attempted suicide. And because I could tell they were kind of looking like, is this a murder? Is this a suicide? What's really going on here? But once his sister showed up and said, no, he has massive depression. He's on all kinds of medication. He just talked to me this week saying he wanted to kill himself. So this was a pattern going on that we were seeing for like maybe 2 weeks. But maybe we were hoping he wasn't going to act on it. Apparently he did, and Mr. Fox here was here and saved my brother's life. And next thing you know, when she said that, they just said, okay, everything's fine. They took Dave away to the hospital. Obviously, he had to be held for observation for a while. At that moment, I said to, then Dave's dad showed up. At that moment, I said to him, I'll just pack up my things and I'll leave. And Dave's dad, Stan, said, no, there's a dog in the house. Why don't you stay here and take care of the dog, wait till Dave gets out of the hospital. I think, and he ended up staying there for about 2 weeks in the hospital. Take care of the dog. He handed me a $50 bill, gave me the keys of the van that they had. It was his van they were just using. He had an extra car. Just said, stay here, and here's some money for some food, and take care of the house. And I did for 2 weeks until Dave came back. And then after Dave came back, I helped him transition to an apartment where we lived for the next 4 years, and I ended up taking care of him. But because I was actually living there and they were allowing me to live there for free, I didn't mind helping him. I like to help people, and I helped him. And then after 4 years of helping him, I was growing as a person and starting to get some, financially set. And I wanted to move out and have my own place instead of sleeping on, the couch. And Dave was rather sad about that. And I could have ended up, to this day, living with Dave by myself. But I wanted my own place, a girlfriend, a life, some privacy, express myself in my own way. and I ended up moving, and it ended up really becoming the best thing for me. And I owe him, a huge debt of gratitude, and he is a great friend of mine who I've known since 1985, and to this day I will always love my friend Dave, because, if it wasn't for him, I wouldn't have been given the chance to even make anything of myself, and I probably would still be homeless, and Dave probably would be dead right now. Honestly, that would have happened, and he would have been dead, and I would be homeless, and we wouldn't even be filming right now, and I'm actually glad I helped him, and so are his parents, and so is Dave, now that Dave looks back on it. While staying with him, I got a laptop, and I was messing around on the, on the computer, on the internet, starting to learn stuff, and I had friends tell me about, YouTube and this and that and what it is, and maybe I should even start a channel, but I actually had no idea at the time of really what YouTube was really about and how it really worked. And I was able to get a channel together, and it started from Dave's house. And I got my little channel together, and while doing some research for my channel, I came across Michael Channel's videos, Back Porch Tapes. So one day I actually had just posted a comment on Michael Channel's video about the video and saying, hey, I went down there, it was great, good information and stuff like that, something like that. So after making this comment on one of his videos, he actually got a hold of me, and I don't know if it was like commenting back, or he asked me something about if I was on Facebook, and I said yes, and next thing you know, we kind of got a hold of each other, I think through Facebook, and he said, would you like to meet me at the ranch one day, and we can go for a little hike? And I was a little nervous, but I said, sure, man, yeah, that sounds great. Now, at the time when I first, I had done a little research on Back Porch Tapes, and knew that Mike was this Manson guy. So meeting him for the very first time was actually kind of funny, because I wasn't sure who I was meeting, and I was a little bit nervous, and I brought Dave with me, and we actually met Mike, and I actually met him, I believe it was on, because he had signed this thing for me. I think it was April 13th, 2013. After getting to know me for a little bit, Mike was kind of like, look, I've seen people kind of like what you do here, and they get interested in something, and then all of a sudden, after so many months or whatever, they get burned out and they go on to something else. And he actually said that to me, and he actually thought that I was going to do that. And I'm like, well, we'll see, man. And we'll see, if I'm gonna, burn out in a couple of years or take it long term. And now I'm coming on my 9th year now of doing this, being on YouTube. And that's basically how I met Mike. And he was just showing me a lot of Manson stuff, and talking to me about Manson, and just telling me a lot of stuff. And all my information and everything that I have achieved is really all because of Michael Channels and Back Porch Tapes.
So this is the spot.
This is the spot where they took those black and white photos for the those Getty images that you see online.
Yeah. Well, this is a good vantage point for some other shit, Stoner. Let's talk about that, because we hiked up here, like the bridge and fucking.
Now you have to remember when Spahn was here in the Manson family, that bridge wasn't there. Yeah. That bridge came in much later.
Yeah. The Ritz Bridge.
You used to enter the ranch right after that pole that you see right there. Literally right in the front of it. And then on the other side, right in between pretty much those power poles, is how you actually entered onto the ranch.
Yeah.
As you can see, it's just massively overgrown. And one thing that people always are surprised about is how small it actually really was.
Yeah.
It's just like, Universal Studios before Universal Studios. This is where you would come, this is basically what it was. And as we're looking at the land now, it's only 3 or 4 acres, and it's not, it's not as big as people think.
Right.
So right now we are in front of the only piece of real history left here, Spahn Ranch. I know Spahn Ranch burned down in 1970, and people were like, well, there's nothing there. And it's like, well, you're right, there isn't, but there is one thing left, and that is that power pole that you see burnt here in the middle of this bush. From there, they got power from the street down to another pole here, which actually lit up, you know, the saloon and everything else. Because they did have power here and they did have running water. The only thing I don't think they had was hot water. But yes, they did have running water. So this is the only thing left now. And you can see it's been burned. It's been through a bunch of fires. It's obviously a lot shorter than it used to be. And right now, so this is really the only thing left. And yes, seeing something like this behind you is what you would see here at the ranch. Is a bed spring, stuff like this. You know, this is actually very common.
Yeah, there's only a few left on this. The last time I was here, it was
the whole thing was.
It looked like a bed.
Yeah,
you can't even tell it's a bed.
And there is a lot of relics like this from the ranch left over, but as you can see, this place is so overgrown. It's ridiculous. It's just covered up and everything like that.
All right. We took the hit for these fools.
We did.
Yeah.
But this thing's
here we are. Yeah.
It's still here.
It is still here.
Looks like people.
Yeah, people have been.
Little souvenirs. Yeah. But it's still actually here.
That's
hidden, which I like. I actually like the fact that it's actually kind of like
yeah.
It is kind of. It's not as noticeable as people think. If you don't really know where to look, you probably wouldn't even notice it. So in a way, I am glad that it's like this. But you're right. For right now, this was just like I said. These socks are done.
Yeah, you're done. Yeah, we're toasted. We're toasted.
Yeah, they're done for this. In the area that we're standing in right now, this is where the corral was. So in those old black and white photos that you see, it was a huge corral with a bunch of different little shacks here.
Yeah.
For just tools and this and that for storage and shit like that all around here. Mainly the majority of the land was for the horses. Remember, it was a horse ranch, and horses being rented was their main thing. So that took up a majority of the property. The buildings were actually a lot smaller than people imagine.
Yeah.
There's a, I guess it's a trailer where they had they kept all their hay on. It was like, you know, and they could tow it around. I'm not sure exactly what it would be called, but I guess it would be some kind of trailer. If you see old pictures of hay being stacked on the back of it, that's exactly what it is. It has 4 different wheels. And after the ranch burned down, they weren't exactly thinking of the environment too much. They just came in with bulldozers and basically just threw everything over the side. So everything underneath this gigantic mound that you see is pretty much Spahn Ranch, with the trailer being exposed now. Because I helped expose it. It actually only was it was only like a tire that you could see. But this thing's bending. This is it wasn't.
Oh, look at the old brakes.
All you can see was just the top of it. Yeah. And underneath this thing, I mean, it's a lot of Spahn Ranch.
You think just like in here in this hill?
Oh shit! You can even see relics coming out. The golf boys know there's just stuff down here, and then through storms and stuff, it's been washed away. But yeah, if we were to actually go with an X-ray, and see what's underneath this, holy Christ, there'd be a lot of stuff underneath here.
Yeah.
And it's all on the side of this hill. So actually, we're standing at a spot now where George Spahn's house was. And what I always tell people on the tours is always look for the boulders.
Yeah.
These boulders haven't moved. So, and they're in every photo that you see, even those aerial ones. So Spahn's house was actually here all the way out there. And we would be standing, I guess you would say, at the back door, I guess.
Yeah.
We're actually in the bathroom, because there was a bathroom. It wasn't inside the house, it was actually in the back of it. And we would be standing where the bathroom is. And this is actually, when you look around, you'll see remnants of stuff that would be in a house or in a bathroom.
Right. Show them the rocks. Then we'll keep moving. Hot. Oh yeah, you see little bits of everything on the ground. It's a state park. You can't take anything.
Well, the one good thing about this land that I like is that it never became anything else.
Yeah.
So you have to understand, so after the ranch burned down, it's only been a ranch. It's not like it was a ranch, then a gas station, and an apartment building. It's only been a ranch. So
yeah,
if you happen to be, look around, look here, watch. Here's an example right here. Here's a good example. Watch. You can see it's right here. There you go.
Yeah.
Look at that, #1 relic right there. Probably from Spahn's house, a bowl of a wall or whatever, just part of the building. I mean,
it's everywhere.
And it's just
shit everywhere.
We are in this little canyon area. You have the hillside over here and the hillside over here. Up on the top here would have been Spahn Ranch. George Spahn's house would have actually been right here. You would have been able to see the back end of Rock City Cafe and the Longhorn Saloon by standing where I'm standing right now. So here is what we call the Manson Rock, and it's just, that's the name it was given, just to, as a location device. That wasn't what it was called back in the day. And as you can see through time, It's been vandalized and broken apart, sliced with a diamond cutter, as you can see. Either by Frank Ritz or maybe the church across the street, but who knows. You got the Manson rock right there. And as you turn around, you start walking into this little area here. And if you remember, there was a black and white photo of the Manson family members of the Manson family sitting in a hammock that were taken by Michael Herron of Time magazine, of Life magazine. Life magazine, let me get that straight. And right to my left here, this is where that photo was taken. So if you remember, there was a black and white photo of the Manson family members of the Manson family sitting right here in a hammock. I guess the headlining act here at Spahn Ranch is what everybody wants to see. And that is the famous picture of the Life magazine cave with 9 members of the Manson family sitting in the cave. Let me see if we can get there you go, a little shot of it right there. If you remember, let me see if I can remember this. You had Ruth Ann Morehouse and Sandra Good and Squeaky Frommie and Jenny Gentry and Catherine Scher and Mary Bruner and Chuck Lovett and Danny Bousselet, I believe, were all in the photo.
Can you take a photo from us?
Yeah.
Oh yes. The Hoya family.
Yeah.
Sure, you want to stand now? I'll take a photo.
We go in.
Ja.
Das neues Film ist
Ja, we want to
So, ja, du bist auch mit.
In a couple different books, Susan Atkins was actually hiding out here with a couple children. She was actually wanted them to, they wanted to get away from the ranch, so they told her to come in here. And she actually had a 2-way radio from here up to the Red Mesa, which is actually on top of that hill up there. And they had these movable shacks that they can move anywhere they can hook into a truck, and they would keep them up there up on the top of the Red Mesa so they could easily see Topanga. And when you're up in the Red Mesa, you can see everybody coming up San Jose and the Red Mesa. So they would wire back to her. They could easily see the police coming. So when they did start, if you think about it, right now we're right underneath San Jose Pass Road. So the cops right now could drive right past us and they wouldn't even know. And plus, there was no bridge or anything, so they have to drive onto the ranch and then try to look for Susan. Think about that. And she's over here. They don't know where she is. Plus, I think the cops at the time were a little bit too afraid to get out of their cars and literally start hiking around trying to find something, because that's not really their kind of thing to do. And there used to be, you know, the bikers would actually have a little, like literally a 2-way radio. There was literally a cable that went up and kind of Susan to kind of keep it quiet and everything like that. And I can't remember who actually owns a piece of that wire, which is, I think it might be Channels. I think that's what it is. He actually owns a piece of that wire. A lot of people find it hard to believe.
Here is the spot
Where Frank Ritz died, 1998, during the El Nino storm that happened here.
the bridge got washed out. He had left the gate open. He went out on the town with his wife and friend for dinner. They came home, it was raining. They noticed the gate was open, but didn't realize that the bridge had been washed away. And basically just drove over the side, and the fall's not what killed him. What killed him is drowning. And the wife and the friend actually survived, and they were the ones who climbed up here to get help. And unfortunately, Frank Ritz died in the car from drowning, and not so much from the actual fall itself. But this is the last person that we know that actually died here at the ranch in 1998. In Tex Watson's map, you can clearly see that there was a creek that went through here to a natural spring. Now it's all covered up. So at one time there was actually a natural spring here, and it says that on the map, on Tex Watson's map, and this is really all that remains. And you can see that there's obviously
It's pretty wet here for the fucking desert,
there's,
dude.
yeah, there's a massive amounts of water here
We just walked through it.
with all those cattails.
Yeah, cattails and other.
There's a lot of water here. So there was a creek here with a natural spring, You know, it's on the map, but as you can see, it's not here anymore, but it's still underneath. Now, obviously, this wasn't like this. It was probably a lot easier to go up there. Behind that over there, and we'll go check that out when we go back up. It's just easier to come in from the top. Yeah. From here, it's just too overgrown. But this is actually where the back bunkhouse was, and you just saw how far we walked. Yeah. From, you know, so the Longhorn Saloon is a good, what, almost a quarter mile or something like that. Yeah. So, and this is this is where the girls actually came and stayed, and we were away from everybody, because remember, they're 15 years old. There's a lot of young girls here. In Lynette's book, when she talks about the night they took LSD and had like kind of like a freak out in the back bunkhouse and running around, this is where it was. And, you know, and little Paul comes in under the influence of LSD and says, let's all have sex before we die. And they're all kind of freaking out. And then the next morning, they all kind of got up, dusted themselves off, and went to work back. You know, it's just another Saturday night type of thing, you know what I mean? You know, let's just have a little party, and then the next day, wait, man, we got to go to work. But this is where really the girls spent most of their time, did the embroidery. There's a great video of them sitting in it on black and white thing with no sound. And you could see all of them in the room clearly, and you could see some Beatles albums in there. And that's exactly where the back bunkhouse, and everybody thinks like it's a lot closer, but it's really not as close as you think, which is a good thing for safety issues, for having minors at the room. As we're looking out here, there's an empty field over here. That's exactly where the back bunkhouse was. That's where the Manson girls actually spent most of their time. Behind that, on the other side of Santa Susana Path, was a place called the In-Case Place. So Tex Watson had the In-Case Place. He had his first tent site on his map. These are all things that are from his map. But this big area that you see down here, that's exactly where the back bunkhouse was, where the Manson girls had spent a lot of time. Now, you can see that truck coming down that hill right there. Yeah. Now, I'll show you, when it gets to a certain point, I'll show you where the In-Case Place was. He's coming up right to it, right before the gate. Right there. Yeah. Where that truck is now at the gate. To our right, his left, that's where the In-Case Place was, on the other side of Santa Susana. So you can just cross the street, simply walk over here, and you'd be instantly right back at the back bunkhouse. And Spahn Ranch, like the Longhorn Saloon, was about a quarter of a mile to our right. Now, as you can see down here, some property has been bought. You have a house, you have a softball field, another little community there for the church, I believe. And so that's the only thing that's been sold, but you're still on state property as long as you walk in the middle, which we just did. We just came from the ranch down here, walked right basically through the middle and zigzagged our way up here. But this is really the best view to get a really good idea of the back bunkhouse. So anytime you read anything about the back bunkhouse, you'll realize how far it actually was from the Longhorn Saloon. A lot of people think that the girls were always spending their time up in the front. Really, because of their age, no, it wasn't. They wanted them kind of hidden in the back, and this was a perfect place because you could do whatever you want back there and have a good time, and nobody would even hear you, or especially 50 years ago. From here, you can clearly see Topanga. Now the sun is in our eyes. Yeah, that's all right. And it's really hard to see, but that flat area down there, it looks like a little parking lot. That's the Red Mesa. So when you ever hear Charlie talk about the Red Mesa, that's the Red Mesa. It used to be a lot more trees here. Now it's an auditorium for the church. You can see that they have benches, and like Easter Sunday, they have events here and stuff like that. It's private property. You can't go on there. From here, you can clearly see this trail is like a line right here, this little line right here. Everything to your left is private property. Everything to your right is state park. So right now we are literally on the border of church and state.
Yeah, we're right on that bitch.
We are right on it. But this is what goes on here now. It's just basically events, I don't know, weddings, parties, different religious things, I would say.
And we're headed up that fucking way, right?
We're heading up that way, yeah.
Woo!
Right up to that, yeah.
Jeez.
What we're actually looking at right here is, we call it the Bruce Davis car. Now, it's not literally his car. I don't know if you guys know this, but Bruce Davis, a while back, I believe by Ed Saunders, was suspected, or was it Neil Saunders? It was suspected of possibly being the Zodiac killer, which was just ridiculous. And it was never proven that Bruce Davis was.
So for a long time, people would call this the Zodiac car, and then we kind of stopped that, and now it's just Bruce Davis's car. And what it is Bruce Davis actually did say that he did drive a Corvair, possibly stolen. It wasn't his. How it got back here, he has no idea, because we actually did write him a letter asking him, hey, we sent him a picture of this, and he said, yes, I did drive a Corvair. No, it wasn't mine. How it got back to the ranch, I have no idea, but you have to remember one thing. The Manson family stole a lot of vehicles, and all they really needed were the engines. They didn't really care too much for the frame of it. They just need the engine for more parts. So to this day, we just call it the Bruce Davis car, and here it sits here at Spahn Ranch now forever to rot away in the sun. So it's not... Bruce Davis has nothing to do with the Zodiac. He's simply just a Manson family member who drove a stolen Corvair and now just still happens to be here. And people come up here, as you can see, take little trinkets and stuff off of it and do other things and move it around. It's actually been moved quite a bit. It used to be further up, and I guess people who come up here want to just roll it down the hill. But it's here forever. It's not really going anywhere, and that's what we do. But let me just tell you right now, the hike to get here from where the car is parked, from Iverson Road, it's a difficult hike. It's treacherous, and if you don't do the hike early in the morning, doing it in the afternoon is pretty much crazy. It's so hot back here during the afternoon when it's about 95, 100, and so I'm not going to lie to you. The hike back here is difficult, so just remember that if you want to come back here.
Wow. So this is it. Oh, I see it right now. I see one right now. Yeah. So
it's going to be slippery.
Yeah, the grass is slick.
Fuck, this was never like this.
Yeah, I figured it might be overgrown. What's the snake danger at this? Like, give me 1 to 10. They like the rocks better, right?
Probably, and then we're going to be making a lot of noise. I'm not even sure which way to go.
Right, it's hard to tell.
So you can see the truck. There's the other one right there.
Yep.
The third one you can't even see. It's
okay, so is that the Volkswagen?
No, the Volkswagen is actually to the left. That's actually the truck. And
yeah.
I
know, just down, down in there.
I can still, it's still there.
All right, I mean, do you want me to just...
It looks like we're sliding down.
Yeah, I'm just going to stay low, maybe?
Stay on your butt. Where we're actually standing right now, it's called Dune Buggy Graveyard. I'm actually standing on an old Volkswagen stolen by the Manson family and dumped here. And the Manson family only needed the frame and the engine. They didn't need the shell. So they literally would bring the cars over to the side over here and dump them over. And then also on this side as well, depending on what they were doing, what time of the day it was, probably at night. There's a truck over there.
Yeah.
The only thing that's left really is the truck that was stolen, this bug.
Yeah.
And another car which is down here, but there's no way you
we're
can
not
see
fucking doing it. There's no way. I don't even believe we got down here.
Yeah. And this is still actually here, and it's in the earth. But this big bush that you see right here is actually poison oak.
Yeah. I'm standing like right next to it.
You're probably standing next to some over there, and that's some right there.
Yeah.
It's not like this at all.
No, it's pretty overgrown. I was hoping it would look a little better.
I remember seeing.
Here's a truck. So it's clearly an old ass truck. Oh shit! There's a beehive in the gas tank. So I'm gonna fucking get the fuck out of there. So the gas tank back there is swarming with bees.
Oh, it's a beehive. Yeah, you know what actually was a beehive last time.
Swarming, it's crazy, like terrifying. There it is, man. We fucking. Thanks for getting me down here. Yep.
That's the most hardcore fucking thing I've ever done.
Sorry, man.
I mean, I'm glad I actually did it because I don't get this probably might go on like this.
That's why we're doing this, dude. It's hard to get down here, and yeah,
I'm glad it's still fucking here, man.
And in the end, before they passed, me and my dad had a really good relationship. While I was locked up, he had actually suffered a stroke. So by the time I got out to see him again, he was already in the hospital, but he could still, recognize me and still talk. Not too well, but he could.
So we had a good relationship all the way up until the end. Me and my mom at the end there, we weren't really on best of terms. The last 5 or 10 years of her life, because I wasn't really around. But I still love her very much, and we were there for her all the way up until the end. And they're both buried up there at Forest Lawn in a beautiful spot overlooking, it's like on the top over there overlooking, just everything. And it's a beautiful place that you can go and hang out and see them. So, yes, that's, love my folks very, very much. And I do miss them a lot. I know for a fact my dad wouldn't mind me doing the Manson stuff. I already know. I know for a fact that they never knew that I was doing any of this. And I don't think my dad he would just be happy that I just would be out of jail. And it's like, okay, look, you have a project, you're doing something that's so great. You're learning, you're reading, you're this, and I know it's the Manson family, but well, whatever. That's the way he would look at it. Like, at least you're doing something, and you're staying out of trouble, and it's getting a little recognition. My mom, on the other hand, would probably hate the whole thing. She's like, I could just see her. She wouldn't even be able to comprehend what I'm doing with the Spahn Ranch worker stuff. Not at all. There's no way in hell my mom would be able to even understand all this. Whereas my dad would just be like, hey, as long as you're not locked up, I don't care what you're fucking talking about on your little show there, as long as you're just not in jail. Really, the most important thing is that there is a channel that is providing this information and telling people, hey, look, there is another side of this case you really need to study. There's some really good books out there. Tom O'Neill's book, Nicholas Schreck's book, George Stimson's book. There's a lot of good books. Lynette Fromey's book, Neil Sanders' book. There's more information now than ever before that proves that the helter-skelter theory was a complete lie, and it was just made up to get a conviction. So that's really the most important thing about my channel. As far as the future of my channel, like I said, I can't be doing tours and making videos about the ranch all the time because I don't live near the ranch anymore. And why is this channel so important to me? Well, because it's keeping me out of prison, and that's really the whole thing here. That's really that's the number one reason why I'm even doing all this, is I have to find something to keep me out of prison, and it just happened to be Spahn Ranch and the Manson family and starting a YouTube channel, honestly. And believe me, it's worked. I haven't been in any trouble at all in 9 years, and everything's been beautiful and great, and I have a much better life than I've ever had, and it's because of YouTube, Spahn Ranch, and the Manson family. And I know that sounds weird, and I'm probably the only person, or one of the few people on the planet that can actually say I've benefited by studying and learning about Spahn Ranch and the Manson family. Not many people could say that, but it has been a very positive thing in my life.
You made it down. Yeah.
No problem, man. Everything that your grandpa did. Look, I really appreciate you allowing me to talk about your grandpa's land here and things, and things that have gone on here, because at the time of my life, I was, really down and out. I needed something to do, and I needed something to fill my life. And this, between the land and Spahn Ranch and other people that I've met, I went from living under a bridge, ex-con, to YouTuber, girlfriend, home, car, life, no prison, no cops, no drama, no drugs. I'm just California sober, which means I just drink Bud Light and smoke pot. That's California sober, okay? There's Bud Light and pot, which is nothing. So, but I really do appreciate it, your family, what you guys have done, and your grandpa, and I really love you to death. So thank you so much.
We appreciate the hell out of what you've done here for the Spahn family, the Manson family, the followers and stuff, and you've done
You always talk about death. You always worry about wealth. Get a little number on my heart. Keep my feelings feelings to myself. And I said, hey girl, don't you wanna tell me what all your secret clues mean early in the evening? We can get past all those awkward feelings and get down to what's real keeping us apart. It's just the callous on my heart. Callous on my heart. You got me holding my breath. You never sank to your death. Now all we got left is soaking wet. And I said, hey girl, you ever gonna warn me about all your little movies? Just let them hit the big screen. Hey girl, don't you think you owe me some kind of answer for all the shit you done to me? Yeah, you always talk about death. You're always worried about wealth. You did a little number on my heart. Got my feelings to myself. And I said, hey girl, don't you wanna tell me what all your secret clues mean early in the evening? We can get past all these awkward feelings and get down to what's really keeping us apart. It's just the callous on my heart. Callous on my heart. Callous on my. Callous on my. Oh, man. Thank you, guys. It's just as cool for me to be down here as it is for you guys.
Well, I'm the Spahn ranch worker, and it fits me to a T. I'm the Spahn ranch worker, and it fits me to a T. If you want some family conversation, come on and smoke a bowl with me. Take a tour with me now down the Santa Susana Pass. I got lots of family knowledge and I'm stoned off my ass. I'm the Spahn ranch worker and it fits me to a T. If you want some family conversation, come on and smoke a bowl with me. Stoner Man Houten.